The guru told you to just do what they did, but they forgot to mention the things that made it easier for them. And I know it sounds uncomfortable, but stay with me, because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And honestly, it is the most freeing thing I have ever shared in a room filled with multi-passionates. In this video, I'm going to show you something that I call the unfair advantage map. 7 invisible starting lines that were built into other people's journeys before they ever gave you a single piece of advice. And so this is not about blaming them. This is truly about understanding their map was never drawn for your territory. And once you stop following a map that was never yours, everything changes. And if you don't know me, hi, my name is Adriana-Morena, and I've spent over 6 years working specifically with multi-passionate businesswomen. Women who have tried every framework, every niche down strategy, just pick one thing approach. And the reason most of them keep failing had nothing to do with discipline or clarity effort. It had everything to do with starting lines that nobody talked about. So let's talk about them. So this is the unfair advantage map. So here's the thing. We often listen to people that literally don't have the same starting point. And this is so important that you choose the right mentors for your business journey. Why? Because it can become so toxic for you if you don't, especially if you're a multi-passionate, especially if you have ADHD, which a lot of multi-passionate have. And ADHD can be your biggest, greatest advantage if you have the right mentor on your side. And everyone needs a mentor. Everyone that made it, whatever making it for you means, has at least one mentor, minimum one, but oftentimes multiple. But let's start with finding the right one for you. Because I know right now you're listening to a million different people. You have purchased 1,000 different courses, signed up to 300 different memberships, and you probably watch in average 5 hours of content every single day on Instagram and YouTube. So let's have a look behind the curtains and see what you need to look out for when you choose a person you want to listen to. Not everything is the way it seems, because not all starting lines are equal. So when somebody tells you, just do what I did, follow my roadmap, and then you will succeed, they forget to mention the invisible things that made it easier for them. These are called unfair advantages, and they're really hard to replicate, and oftentimes even impossible. And it's not your fault, but once you see them, you cannot unsee them again. And it's also not about giving up. This here is about finally understanding why their map does not work for your journey. So let's look into the first one, shall we? The first one, this one here, is the family you grew up in advantage. So you're born into unfair advantage. That's the home you grew up in that shaped how you see money and relationships and yourself before you ever made a single decision. So because your parents who stayed together, maybe even up till now, or their parents, in a healthy relationship, what safe love looks like. There's less drama and more brain space for building. If you're coming from the opposite, maybe single parents or parents still living together, but there's total chaos and lots of fights, you're stepping into your career world already with some traumas. And let's be honest, most of us have traumas. But if you come from a healthy household, your trauma most likely happens externally and not internally. Plus, if you grew up with internal drama, you most likely face a lot of drama and trauma outside. So externally, you would more likely attract a lot of drama in your life. Secondly, if you're from a healthy household, if money was handled well at home, you probably grew up knowing how to manage it too, which means that you probably won't have this feeling of immediately spending your money the moment you receive it. Unhealthy relationship to money. Or another super toxic trait is of never spending any, saving the wrong ways, or not saving at all. And then third, if your parents were organized and by having systems and routines, morning routines and evening routines, you absorbed structure early, even if you have ADHD. Disciplined household gave you a head start. And that's also what you have to look into when you look into any creator you're listening to. Their backstory is way more important than their current success that they're flashing you with, because we have so many creators that we see online. And fact is, you need a role model. You want to have a role model, a mentor you can look up to step into that person's footsteps, or at least take that person's learnings as a guide. It is important, because why would you keep trying and not succeeding? Which is most likely happening right now, because else you wouldn't watch this video. Am I right? So here's the thing. Here's the hidden hacks nobody talks about. If you grow up in chaos or instability, a huge part of your adult energy goes toward regulating yourself, healing, and managing old survival instincts. That is invisible labor. So the creator from a stable home is not paying that tax. And that affects your focus, your risk tolerance, and your output. And that's not a weakness, it is math. Also, the reason why we want to be aware of who we're listening to is because their advice will be from their experience and their journey. But if their journey has nothing to do with yours, then you should really think about how much value this advice truly has for you, because it can literally create the opposite of what you want to achieve. Now let's go into the second one, which is access to education. That's not really about the whole, like, in general getting a degree. This is about what doors opened before you even entered the room. So if you're from a healthy household, or a healthy and wealthy household, or just wealthy household, you have access to better schools. And better schools taught you how to think critically and set standards early. And that becomes a business skill later. So for instance, universities like Oxford or Harvard give you access to future investors, collaborators, and decision makers before your career even starts. Think about the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki had his own poor dad and his friends rich dad. And so you easily have the opportunity in better schools to meet people with better dads and moms that are well connected, that have a business where you can jump into, where you can learn from. Or professors that hire you, help you shape your startup idea, or connect you to other people. So what you studied matters also enormously. If someone started, for instance, marketing, they have a 3 to 5 year head start on you into the one skill that makes or breaks a business. That person studied marketing or business or sales or anything that would be relevant to what we do in business right now. This information is important. And so most of the people we're listening to, we see this as a credibility, as a proof. And of course, this is some sort true because the person studied it, the person comes with a skill. But here's the point. The creators position themselves as the expert. They have studied it, they have this and that experience. So if they would give you now advice, and they're not multi-passionate ADHD women that studied business, marketing, or sales, then this is where it can become toxic because they can't relate to you at all. They have no idea who you truly are. And so if they fall soft. But if you fall and you might have already family, or you want family, or you don't have the soft cushion behind you when falling, you will fall very, very hard. And that's why I want you to be a little bit more aware of who you're actually listening to. If you look into this, the marketing degree advantage, or business degree advantage, or anything literally close to business, marketing, sales advantage, could also be finance. If you studied law, design, or anything outside of business and marketing, you're not trying to learn those fundamentals while also running a business. And so they're not more talented than you. So while you build your business, you still have to learn the core fundamentals that they already learned because they grew up in an environment that helped them to get into something like that, like the better schools or whatnot, or the people or the organizations or the structure. You're literally trying to do multiple things at the same time right now. You're still trying to heal your past, create systems and organizations and routines. You don't have that network nor the business informations and knowledge. So let's jump into number 3. This is the luck and timing. That cannot be planned. So sometimes the biggest leap forward has nothing to do with how hard you worked. It was just the right moment, the right person at the right place. So meeting the right mentor can compress 10 years of struggle into 10 months. And that's not replicable on demand. So remember here, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that was luck. So building an audience when organic reach was still free, same effort, widely different results. You remember YouTube back then in 2015 and whenever everyone started? Or even Instagram. Totally different experience than it is today. Plus, human behavior has changed and now we're competing with AI, so much more content and so many people are more aware of the power of social media, so much more human content and AI content. And it's easier and faster to create content because of AI, which is an advantage now, but also not really because everyone can do basically great content these days. So someone who started 10 years ago cannot even close relate to someone that just started this year or last year. And that's why I believe you should not listen to creators that create videos that are already in the YouTube creator landscape for 10 years, 5 years plus, because their success has been built when things were still easier. The whole YouTube bang thing, yes, they have built it then. When blogging was a thing and SEO was still relatively easy, they have built it. The whole affiliate marketing stuff, when Amazon was still paying well, that's when they built their blogs. When Instagram was easy and you were holding up your Starbucks mug, the aesthetically pleasing photos, which today would be totally cringe, they blew up with that. Or you remember the whole TikTok thing when everyone started dancing? You probably missed this one too. Or what about Reels? When Instagram released Reels, that time is over. So listening to someone that does business or marketing and talks about this is what I would do today if I would had to start all over, it is nice to hear their thoughts on this and we can definitely take some notes, but we can't replicate what they replicated. It's impossible. And so that's why purchasing courses, memberships, or over consuming and getting addicted to their content won't make the cut for you. And I really need you to understand that part. So also going viral on a random Tuesday is not a strategy, because most of the times if you go viral, you most likely also attract people that are not your audience. So they're not really purchasing anything. It is timing. Timing has always been the number one thing in business, not only for content creators, in business in general. Timing for the right product. Products also have a lifespan. It can be too late for a product. It can be too early for a product, but also for platforms and content. So let's look into this one. The part they leave out of their story, of course, because, you want to create this empathy story, you have the victim, the villain, the whole Harry Potter thing. We have learned it all from our bestie, Russell Brunson. But lucky breaks almost always look like skill in hindsight. So when someone tells you their success story, they normalize the lucky moments because they cannot see them anymore. So you get a clean narrative of I worked hard and it happened happened. What you do not hear are the 2 to 3 invisible turning points that had nothing to do with their decisions. It's just what it is, and I'm honestly just honest here. And I'm not shaming or blaming or being negative here in any shape or form. This is truly from my own learning, which I feel like I need to share with y'all, especially if you're a multi-passionate ADHD woman that wants to build a successful, creative, and profitable business. I just feel like I need to show you how toxic it can be if you listen to someone that can't relate to you in any point. You need to understand why, for instance, listening to an Alex Hormozi that is a good-looking, muzzled dude that has a totally different hormonal system and can work all year long for 12 hours or 16 hours a day, while a woman who is struggling with PMS, luteal phases, endometriosis, or all the other things that comes with having a female cycle or female hormonal system, especially after giving birth. At least that was the case for me. And if you have ADHD, the symptoms might be a little bit more intense for you. And so, if we're honest, we only function half of the month, half of the year, half of our life. So you listening to someone that says just hustle, just pick a niche, I'm not sure if that really would work for you, if that advice is really that valuable. And listen, I'm also listening to Alex Hormozi. I've read all his books. I'm using his software to host my communities. I'm so much more aware who I'm listening to about what. So let's move on to number 4. Physical appearance. I'm sorry to say it, but on video first platforms, how you look lowers or raises the barrier to attention and trust before you even say a single word. Like, that's branding. It's personal styling, and it falls into the category of branding. So conventional attractiveness gives you a non-negligible head start in a world where content is consumed visually first. It's just what it is. And so this is not the deciding factor. You can't make an active decision, I'm looking good now. But this is a real factor, and pretending it is not does not help you. Let me give you an example. Let's go back to our beautifully muzzled Alex Hormozi. He looks like the perfect bro dude that a lot of our millennial and even Gen Zs want to look like. He's well trained, doesn't pay so much attention. I think now he's even wearing jeans, which is interesting, and buttoned up shirts. But usually you see him with his tank tops, his shorts, his beard, and his hair. He always looks like he doesn't really give a shit, which he probably don't. And he has his own style in a weird way. But he is allowed to look like this because he looks good physically. And here's the thing. If you're physically well shaped, there is an invisible message you send out to the world. I am disciplined. I have my shit together. Just because you're well trained. That person's house can still look dirty and his life is a total mess, which for Alex Hormozi probably isn't. But it sends a message to people that follow him. There was a time, I think it was last year and the year before, people were literally copying his style. His little nose strip, people were copying. You remember Nelly? When I was younger, there was Nelly. He always had a plaster here, and people copied it. It was just style. There was nothing. It was just his style, right? And so people copied it, and that is literally what he created for himself. He had this little nose thingy on top. People started growing their beard and had long hair and just looked like a mess. They just forgot that the rest of the physical appearance was missing. And so it's not adding up. Another thing, if you see a beautiful blonde girl, slim, drinking matcha every day business coach telling you how to build your business or grow a social media following online, she's already followable, if that's even a term, probably not, but let's make it a term, because she's the average beauty. Let's take Pamela Reif. I feel like she's the perfect blondie I have in mind right now. She's beautiful, she is fit, and she's having beautiful long hair, long lashes, she's kind, she's disciplined, and so it's an easy way for her to be followed, because you just look at the person you hit follow. It's just, it's easier. But if you're curvy, like me, or maybe black, I hate to say it, but I actually asked ChatGPT 2 years ago if social media is racist. And it said, I hope I can find it and blend it into the video. So I just asked ChatGPT, because I couldn't find my screenshot from 2 years ago. I asked, social media racist? And so it said, short answer, sometimes yes, but not in a simple way. Social media itself isn't a person, so it doesn't decide to be racist. But the system behind it and the people using it can create racist outcomes. So these people obviously bring their bias, and algorithms can amplify it. And then, of course, hidden bias in tech. So who gets more visibility? Which faces are recognized better? Some communities get policed more strictly, others less. And that creates uneven experiences. So there you have it. That is another part. If you're black, we already have it hard, right? But it is just a fact. If I use AI right now and I'm trying to create black characters, the more I'm changing the character, the lighter it gets, interestingly enough. And all of a sudden, she has a pointy nose and straight hair, and I'm like, huh? So creating a black, curvy AI character is not easy. But let's get back to the physical appearance, because, again, this is not the deciding factor, but it is a real factor. And pretending it is not does not help you. And of course, before I'm seeing people in the comments, but XYZ became big and is black or is big or whatnot, of course, people who are very unique have unfair advantages. If you're white but are originally black, like albinos, but they also have another term on how they've been called, you can go viral. And that's why we see so many AI avatars now being black and white, or truly black, or truly white but actually black, or if you're disabled. That all can be advantages. But again, it is an advantage. If you're black and extremely beautiful, but like Patricia Bryce or Jacqueline something or Beyonce, that is a physical appearance unfair advantage that is hard to replicate. And that's why you see so many online educators and creators doing a lot of face jobs, body jobs and whatnot, because beauty pays better. So, but here is what can close that gap. It is less about being conventionally beautiful and more about having a strong, clear, consistent visual presence. So someone who shows up with a defined aesthetic, great personal styling and strong camera energy can close that gap significantly. So like, you want to have your own style, of course. And so multi-passionate women often struggle here because they do not know how to translate their multifaceted identity into a coherent visual presence. And that is exactly what the Brand Your Multitude phase is built for, to fix. So I have a multi-passionate brand roadmap I created, and there is a phase 3, which is Brand Your Multitude, which includes personal styling. I mean, I'm a fashion designer as well. I value that a lot anyways, and that's why I probably look into that even more. But it is truly a fact of why someone might grow faster in terms of content or business. Now let's get to the unfair advantage number 5. And that's the most invisible one. The domain skills already installed. The most unfair advantage. You actually cannot see it, but it's doing a lot of heavy lifting for the person whose advice you are following. A coach who grew her brand fast, had a marketing degree, was not starting where you are. She was applying prior expertise into a new context, basically. So we already touched on that earlier. Learning business while building a business, while healing, while managing life as a multi-passionate is a completely different load than building a business when the skills are already there. And so you see the result and try to apply their advice to a completely different starting point. And that's the trap. Now, here's why their advice feels like it should work, but it doesn't. You see someone grow fast and assume it's replicable because they say so. Here's my 5-step roadmap, or here's the steps you can immediately apply. But what you do not see is 10 years of an agency experience, for instance, or an internship in sales, or a degree in communications. The result looks like strategy, but it is prior knowledge meeting an opportunity. And so that combination is not the same as starting from scratch. So let me give you an example. Again, I'm using Alex Hormozi because, first of all, I like a lot of stuff that he's learning from. And so I stopped consuming a little bit of him because I noticed that his masculine energy and his not being in a homo thing is giving me a lot of pressure. It literally reminded me, I had the learnings before, but it reminded me to step back a little bit, or a lot bit, whatever, because it was creating the opposite of what I wanted. So again, no shaming about Alex Hormozi. I like what he's doing, but he was not one of your average dropout college people that were really bad at school. He was actually quite good in school. And so he had a skill, which is writing. Writing is a really good high value skill, even if it doesn't seem like it anymore because we're now having AI, but it is a high value skill because it can be transferred into copywriting, which you use for marketing, and sales, storytelling, content, sales, business. Everything is somehow connected here. You see? Again, years of experience, unfair advantage. Let's get to unfair advantage number 6. And that's the one no one admits. An existing audience or social capital. Some people did not build from zero. They pivoted from somewhere that already had eyes on it. So that is almost never disclosed. Now, building of an existing following or viral moment or a podcast feature is a completely different starting point than posting in silence. And so some people launched their business into a network built over years in a previous career. The warm leads are already there. They already have the contacts. They have already built the network. So when they tell you how they grew, the pre-existing trust layer they had is usually missing from their story entirely. And that's why we often hear in Alex Hormozi's content, if you start from the beginning, the first thing you can do is ask your network, the people that you know. But what if you don't know anyone? And because he does not come from the same starting point, he doesn't get that part. And again, we are not his target audience. If you're a female, you're not. If you're a female multi-passionate, you're not. If you're a female multi-passionate ADHD woman, you're not. If you're a female multi-passionate ADHD woman that has a family or wants one, you're totally out of his serving scope, okay? So, the silence before the launch. So building from zero with no audience, no referrals, and no borrowed trust is genuinely one of the hardest things in online business. It is not talked about because the people who have already crossed that bridge do not remember how dark it was before the audience existed. So if you are still in that phase, you're not doing it wrong, you're doing it honest, because you are where most of them weren't even at no point in their journey, knowing no one, coming from nowhere, being extremely broke, struggled hard in school. A lot can't relate. And so their advice does not come from that point of view. And also, if they do relate, because they come from there, but they grew, you want to understand how they grew. Was it luck, network, the right time, or something else we just mentioned? Let's get to the last part. Here is the real thing. The map was drawn for a different terrain. When someone advice does not work for you, the instinct is to blame yourself. You think you're not disciplined enough. You're not consistent enough. You're not good enough. And the problem is also like they're telling you to focus, to pick one thing, to pick a niche. That's really not the problem. And so the problem is you were handed directions for a road you're literally not on. They wrote those directions based on their terrain they have already traveled with those tools they already had from a starting point that was never yours. And so you're not behind. You are navigating a completely different map. And the only person building the right one for you is someone who actually walked the same path. That is what changes everything, let me tell you. Now, it's not easy to find this person or people like that if you're just close to the person that I just described. So what do you do with this now? Number one, stop measuring yourself against people with different starting points. You cannot win a race with a starting line that was 10 years behind you and you did not know it. Second, get ruthlessly selective about who you're learning from. If they have never had to figure out how to build a business around multiple passions with no prior framework, their advice will not fit you. So stop that right now. And third, find the person who built the map for your terrain. Not the most successful person in the room, but the person who has at least 10 steps ahead of where you are right now on the same kind of road. And so here's the thing. If you related to anything that I just said, or you just had an aha moment, then I would like you to sign up to my free workshop, which is called The Niche Trap, which is an almost 2-hour training where I share 3 secrets with you on why niching down as a multi-passionate entrepreneur has never worked for you and what to do instead. So if you find yourself stuck of, I can't pick one thing, I don't know how to focus, all the courses and memberships you have recently purchased has just not worked for you at all, and you just finally make money and jump ahead of the 10K a month revenue with your business, or even start, then the Niche Trap workshop is for you. See you in the next one, and don't forget to embrace and monetize your multitude.